Hey there, welcome to my channel. I'm Kevin. Today I want to compare the efficiency of alcohol stoves versus liquid pressurized gas. So if you're going on a backpacking trip, which should you carry? If you're worried about weight, should you carry an alcohol stove or a liquid pressurized gas stove? Let's find out.
Let's do some boil tests.
I got an idea. Let's do some boil tests. If I'm going to do some boil tests, I may as well also include a naphtha or white gas stove.
This is my go-to stove that I bring on most trips. This is the Soto Micro Regulator stove, which burns liquefied petroleum gas, which is really just a combination of butane and propane. The total weight of the stove, empty with a medium-sized canister, is 224 grams. This is the Trangia alcohol stove, which burns methyl hydrate or methanol. The total weight of the stove, if you bring a stand and a small windscreen with it, is 162 grams. You're probably going to want a fuel bottle to carry your fuel, and that would add another 40 grams for a total of 202 grams base weight without fuel. This is my Primus OmniFuel stove, one of my favorite stoves for canoe tripping. This stove burns naphtha, otherwise known as white gas, which is really just a mixture of a whole bunch of other gases. The full weight of the stove, empty, with a 1 liter fuel bottle, is 834 grams.
So really, I think all three of these stoves are really high quality and represent their class very well. Alright, time to admit my biases. I've never really caught on to the alcohol stove thing. I know they're very, very popular. I know people rave about them, but it's just not my thing. I found that they take an awful long time to boil water, and that's not my style. But I recognize that's just a personal preference, not a technical preference. So let's keep an open mind and give this a fair shot. So here's the setup for all three of my tests. My usual cooking pot with 2 cups of water. I've got a temperature probe here, measuring the temperature, and a thermometer with a timer. Each time I do this test, I'm going to put my stove on this old baking sheet to protect the countertop.
Before and after each test, I'm going to weigh my fuel so that I know how much fuel I've consumed.
I've got 2 cups of water at 19 degrees Celsius. That's 100 degrees at 8:35. Remove my pot and shut the stove off. It's tricky. There we go. Stay with me.
So here's the results. The canister stove boiled 2 cups of water in 2 minutes and 38 seconds and burned only 9 grams of fuel. Pretty consistent with previous results I've had. The Trangia alcohol stove boiled 2 cups of water in 8 minutes 35 seconds and consumed 11 grams of fuel. The Naptha stove boiled 2 cups of water in 2 minutes and 12 seconds and burned 17 grams of fuel. So here you have it. The canister stove burned 9 grams of fuel, the methyl hydrate stove, alcohol stove, burned 11 grams of fuel, and the naphtha stove burnt 17 grams of fuel. That makes the methyl hydrate stove 81% efficient compared to the LPG stove, and the Naptha stove is only 53% as efficient. I know from experience that when I bring a canister stove in the backcountry, I tend to burn about 36 grams of fuel per day. You may burn more or less depending on your behavior, but that's my experience. That means that if I was to translate those efficiencies to those other fuel types, I would be burning 44 grams or 52 milliliters of methyl hydrate fuel per day, or if I brought Naptha, 68 grams or 96.5 milliliters per day.
So I know from experience and other tests that I've done that one of these medium canisters is going to last me up to 6 days. Heck, I could be smarter, and if I'm going on a very short trip, 1, 2, or 3 days, I can get by with one of these small canisters. Up to 3 days, up to 6 days. So that means if I'm going up to 9 days, I'd bring one of each size. So if I'm going on a trip that's 10, 11, or 12 days long, I'll bring 2 medium canisters.
So following that logic, I can build a model in a spreadsheet that looks something like this.
So the Trangia alcohol stove is kind of cool because you can carry fuel inside of it very securely. That fuel is going to last me about a day. So if I'm doing an overnighter, I'm going to bring the stove full of fuel, and that's about it. Any longer than that, I'm going to need a bottle to bring more alcohol. And this bottle is 350 milliliters. It only weighs 40 grams when it's empty, and it's good for up to 6 days of fuel.
Now I can build a similar model for the alcohol stove and compare the two models.
I did not expect alcohol and LPG stoves to be so close in terms of their weight efficiency on a trip. I kind of thought there'd be a clearer advantage than that. So I guess it really does depend on your style and personality and what you like. Do you like that really hot, quick boil, or do you want that takes a little bit longer? There certainly is a big difference in price. These are much cheaper than a stove that fits an LPG canister, and the fuel is more expensive too. This is pennies a day, and this is dollars a day. So it's up to you.
So just for kicks, let's compare the Naptha stove versus the other two stove types. Quite a significant difference. The Naptha stove is much heavier.
So Naptha stoves are clearly the loser when it comes to weight efficiency. You do not want to bring one of those backpacking. Doesn't make any sense. However, on a canoe trip where you've got lots of glide, perhaps they make sense. They're certainly great, reliable, and easy to cook on. You can bake on them very easily. So I'm still going to use mine on canoe trips. All right, you have a good day.